Good afternoon, dear students. Today's class, we are going to discuss about weavers, hand smelters, and factory workers. See, in this chapter, we are going to learn about especially the crafts and industries of our country during British rule, especially by focusing on two industries, especially that is textile and iron and steel industry. Getting dear students. So in this chapter actually, so we are going to learn about crafts and industries of our country, especially during the British rule by focusing on only two industries, that is textile and iron and steel. Textile, iron and steel. See dear students, both these industries were crucial for the industrial revolution in the modern world. Both these industries. So, textile industries and as well as iron and steel industries. So, these two industries were crucial for the industrial revolution in the modern world. Because we all of knows that, so without use of the iron and steel, even we cannot achieve anything also, especially in industrial and technical field. So, mechanized production of cotton textiles, which was actually made by Britain, the foremost industrial nation in the 19th century. Understood? So, actually we knows that the cotton textile, which were made in Britain, the foremost industrial nation in the 19th century. So the Britain, it was one of the foremost industrial nation during the 19th century, especially cotton textiles. And when its iron and steel industry started growing from the 1850s. So that's what, dear students, Britain came to be known as the workshop of the world. Britain came to be known as the workshop of the world. Getting these students. So because of these reasons, so Britain came to be known as the workshop of the world. Britain came to be known as the workshop of the world. See, the industrialization of Britain had a close connection with the conquest and colonization of India. So please keep in your mind, the industrialization of Britain had a close connection with the conquest and colonization of India. So that already we learned in the second chapter how the British East India Company and the company interests in trade that led to occupation of territory. That already we learned in the previous chapter. So we know that English East India Company, it was one of the trading company. Understood? So the company's interest in trade led to occupation of territories and how the pattern of trade changed over the decades. Afterwards, what happened? The pattern of trade changed over the decades. See, in the late 18th century, the East India Company was buying goods in India and exporting them to England and European world. So during 18th century, the company was buying goods in India and exporting those goods to England and Europe. So making profit through this trade or through this sale. So with the growth of industrial production, so British industrialists began to see India as a vast market for their industrial products. Getting these students. So afterwards what happened? So with the growth of industrial production, so our country, especially by the British industrialists, it was actually seen India as one of the vast market for their industrial products. And over time, manufactured goods from Britain began flooding India. The maximum of the goods, including cotton textiles. So everything, whatever they were produced in England. So the industrial products, so that flooded to our India, and India, it was became a vast market for industrial products of Britain. Getting these students. So India, it was become a vast market for industrial products of Britain. See, how did this affect Indian crafts and industries? So just you can imagine, dear students. So the effect of this. So once upon a time, India is one of the largest exporter, and now India, it was become a vast market for industrial products of Britain. Then how did this affect Indian crafts and industries? So this really a very bad situation, dear students. Now let us discuss about Indian textiles and the world market. So you know that since the beginning, so that's what the most of the Europeans, they were attracted to our country to trade with our India. So because of the quality of Indian textiles and as well as the Indian spicy items. Now let us see the first at textile production product. So around 1750, before the British conquered Bengal, around 1750, before the British conquered Bengal, India actually was by far the world's largest producer of cotton textiles. It is about around 1750, before British conquered Bengal. So India ಏನಂತ ಹೇಳಿದ್ರೆ, so it was actually world's largest producer of cotton textiles. Indian textiles had long been renowned both for their fine quality and the craftsmanship, the wonderful work of the craftsmanship. See, they were extensively traded in Southeast Asia. Southeast Asia ಅಂತ ಹೇಳಿದ್ರೆ ಮಕ್ಕಳ, can you guess which are the countries? Especially Java, Sumatra and Penang. So Java, Sumatra, Penang. So these countries are called as Southeast Asian countries. See, they were extensively traded in this Southeast Asian country and West and Central Asian countries. From the 16th century, European trading companies began buying Indian textiles for sale in Europe. So, from the 16th century, what happened? European trading companies began buying Indian textiles for sale in European markets. So, memories of this flourishing trade and the craftsmanship of Indian weavers is preserved in many words still current in English and other languages. It is interesting to trace the origin of such words. Getting dear students. So, the memories of this flourishing trade and the craftsmanship of Indian weavers. Craftsmanship of Indian weavers is preserved in many words. Is preserved in many words still current in English and even in the other languages also. It is very much interesting to trace the origin of such words and see what they tell us. Such words. So, words tell us histories. Words tell us histories. Getting dear students. So, words tell us histories. See, European traders first they encountered fine cotton cloth from our country and especially these the fine cotton cloth from India. It was carried by Arab merchants in Mosul. Mosul actually that is the present name of Iraq. Mosul. ಏನಂತ ಕರೀತಾರೆ ಮಕ್ಕಳು ಅದನ್ನ Mosul. It is actually the present name of Iraq. So dear students, they began referring to all the finely woven textiles as muslin. So they were actually described as the finely woven cotton. That is muslin. The name of muslin. Muslin cloth. It is a fine cotton material. See, the muslin, this word actually that acquired wide currency. When the Portuguese first came to India in search of spices, they landed in Calico, which is actually in the present Kerala coast in southwest India. So, the cotton textiles which they took back to Europe along with the spices came to be called Calico. So, that is actually Calico derived from Calico. This is one thing that is about the muslin and Calico. So, this Calico derived from Calico. So, we all know that when the Portuguese first came to India in search of spices, so they landed in Calicut, which is in the present Kerala coast in the southwest India. So the cotton textiles which they took back to Europe, the Portuguese they were took back to the cotton textiles from the Calicut. So that's actually along with the spices that came to be called as Calico. So Calico, this word actually derived from Calicut. And subsequently Calico became the general name for all cotton textiles. Afterwards, what happened, dear students? So the Calico, so it became the general name for all cotton textiles. Getting now? So, and also dear students, there are many other words which point to the popularity of Indian textiles in Western markets. Getting now? So there are many other words also which points to the popularity of Indian textiles in Western markets. Especially dear students, the English East India Company sent to its representatives in Calcutta in 1730. So that is actually an order book. You can see that in your history textbook, new history textbook, page number 67. There is the complete data about that. Understood now? So there is the complete data in the Fake 3, page number 67 of your new history textbook. So there is the complete data. Actually, that is what about that? That is completely an order book that the English East India Company sent to its representatives in Calcutta in 1730. In 1730. See, in order that years of, you see that 5,89,000 pieces of cloth. The order that year was for 5,89,000 pieces of cloth. Browsing through the order book, you would have seen a list of 98 varieties of cotton and silk cloth. So they were mentioned a list of 98 varieties of cotton and silk cloths. See, these were known by their common name in the European trade as piece goods, usually woven cloth pieces that were 20 yards long and 1 yard wide. 20 yards long and 1 yard wide. See, it was very clearly mentioned in that order. 5,89,000 pieces of cloth, which would have seen a list of 98 varieties of cotton and silk clothes. So these were known by their common name in the European trade as piece goods, usually woven cloth pieces that were 20 yards long and 1 yard wide. See, now look at the names of the different varieties of cloth in the book. So there, I told that there are 98 varieties of cotton cloth and silk cloths. So amongst the pieces, what we called in a bulk, ordered in a bulk. Understood? Bulk means completely the whole. Were printed cotton cloths, which was called as a chins. The printed cotton. So the printed cotton cloth, that is called chins. Printed cotton cloth is known as jeans. It's one of the variety cloth. So and also dear students, corsage is one jeans and corsage. See, this is actually also called as kasa. Is also called as kasa. So these were actually the name of the varieties of cloth. The name of the cloths, the varieties Understood. And also bandana. Bandana or bandana. See, dear students, can you guess how this chins, it's a derived, the word, the English term chins comes from, can you guess? So it is actually derived from the Hindi word chin. Chin, the English word is derived from actually the Hindi word chin. It's a Hindi word, chin. So, a cloth with small and colorful flowery designs. What is the meaning of chint in Hindi? That means chint means a cloth with small and colorful flowery designs. A cloth with small and colorful flowery designs. See, from the 1680s, so there started a craze for printed design, especially the printed Indian cotton textiles in England and Europe, mainly for their exquisite floral designs, the wonderful the floral designs, the fine texture and relative cheapness, fine texture also, and dear students, so it is actually relative cheapness also. It is not actually that much of the what we called the costly one. So these were the cheap and the fine texture quality. See, the rich people of England, including the Queen herself, wore cloths of Indian fabric. Then you can imagine, dear students, how it were famous in Britain and as well as European markets. Because the rich class of England people are the rich people in England, and even including the Queen herself wore cloths of Indian fabric. Similarly, dear students, this bandana. So this bandana, this refers to any brightly colored and printed scarf for the neck or head. It's like a scarf. It's like a scarf. So it's actually bandana ಅಂತ ಹೇಳಿದ್ರೆ bandana, bandana. So that means, so any brightly colored and printed scarf for the neck or head. So originally this term derived from the word bandana. Understood, dear students? So there is a Hindi word bandana. So what is the meaning of bandana? Bandana, that means tying ಅಥವಾ ಏನಂತ ಕರಿತೀವಿ ಕಟ್ಟೋದು ಅಂತ ಏನು ಕರಿತೀವಲ್ಲ, ಸೊ ದಟ್ ಇಸ್ bandana derived from actually bandana, that means tying, and referred to a variety of brightly colored cloth produced through a method of tying and dyeing. Getting this, students? So, and referred to a variety of this bandana is referred to a variety of brightly colored cloth produced through a method of tying and dyeing. A method of tying and dyeing. See, there were other clothes in the order book, which actually I told that there are 98 varieties of cotton and silk textiles or the fabric which were mentioned in that order book. So there were so many like that. There were other cloths in the order book that were noted by their place of origin. For example, Qasim Bazaar. So how they were mentioned actually that those are noted by their place of origin. Their place of origin. So especially Qasim Bazaar, Patna, Calcutta, Varisa, Charpur. So these are all actually the mentioned. That means that shows that the that noted that by their place of origin. By their place of origin. For example, Qasim Bazaar, Patna, Calcutta, Orissa, and Chalpur. See, the widespread use of such words such as cheese or corsets or kasa or bandana. So, the widespread use of these type of words shows that how popular Indian textiles and became in different parts of the world. So that shows that very clearly the popularity of Indian textiles had become even not only in one or two countries, especially in a different part of the world that shows that. Getting these students. So now we can understand that even we came to know that so many rich class people in England, including Queen herself would like to wear the Indian fabric means that shows that the quality of and the fine texture and the design of the Indian textile industries. That shows that very clearly. Why? Because even Queen herself she wore Indian fabrics. So that's what the greatness of our Indian textiles in during that time. And next class we are going to discuss about Indian textiles in European markets. Indian textiles in European markets. So about this we are going to learn in the next class. Thank you. Have a nice day.